Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the daily medicine transmission for March 25th. Oh, March is almost over. Wow, that was fast. That was really fast. March 25th, 2021. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me for this transmission today. So, the fog of confusion is pretty thick with Mercury in Pisces still. And of course, Neptune. That doesn't go away anytime soon. But I wouldn't say that I struggled necessarily with trying to consolidate this transmission into a catchy title. But I did struggle a little bit because the fog of confusion is really thick right now. And Mercury in Pisces, while it is allowing us to access some deeper, watery, vivid, imaginative realms, right? Our imagination, in terms of the workings of our mind, really strong today, really visual dreams. People are reporting, I'm definitely having a lot of really visual dreams, very, very visceral, in terms of kinesthetic experience in the dreams. But what it also does is leave us open to intrusion when we have Mercury in Pisces like this, intrusion into the mind. And so without some level of awareness about this, we can easily be infiltrated. Our minds can easily be infiltrated, and we can give our power away, and our emotional power away very easily without this understanding. And so when we consider what fog is and how it can have a benefit as well as be a detriment, that allows us to work with this energy a lot more consciously, right? Being able to engage with the realm of the astral and the spiritual realm that Pisces represents when it comes to our mind and communication and ideas and knowledge, right? The Mercury is the movement of things. We can make use of that fog as an opportunity, in as much as it is a hindrance if we are completely unconscious and not aware of ourselves. This is why understanding what Dharma means and understanding who we are and why yesterday's transmission was so important is because without that sense of knowing innately who we are, we very easily can be infiltrated in our minds and be taken over by false light and false illumination that Mercury and the realm of our mind can do for us. So what is fog? Fog is just a low-lying cloud. It's just a low elevation cloud. And it is the collection of vapor, right? On Earth, it's water, right? I'm sure on other planets, in other conditions, it could be a different type of gaseous material, but we're talking about water on this planet. It is in its gas state, but it's very consolidated. It's kind of on the cusp of moving into liquid form, which is where we get rain from. And it has a lot to do with temperature. And when the sun comes out, we say that's burning off the fog, right? And that is the light of truth. And the light of our truth has been very internalized over the last day or so because of the moon in Leo. And we're going to have the moon in Leo for the rest of the day. It's not going to move into Virgo until very late tonight, into early tomorrow morning, depending on where you are. And so we still have this whole day of a moon in Leo, which is really, there is a lot of craving and desire to really not even actualize ourselves. That's much more of an Aries archetype. And we do have the Sun and Venus in Aries. So we want to fulfill ourselves through this self-actualization. We want to find our value and worth through this self-actualization. And it's very strong. And to have the moon, which is about our emotional landscape and our emotions and feelings, being also in a fire sign in Leo, There's been a strong craving. There's been a strong desire. There's passion, right? Leo is the 5th house and the sun, right? So there is all this connection of really wanting that light of truth to come out and burn off the fog. And I assure you it will. And when we look at the actual intuitive message that's part of this overall transmission today, we'll see that that is in fact coming. There's no stopping that at all, because that is the essence of our universe. There is no hiding truth. I mean, you can try to for a while, but nothing exists. Nothing. The only constant in this universe is change. And for as much as we want to hide the truth for whatever reason, it will make its way out. There is no way to stop that process, especially with an awakening human collective that wants that truth. That's the thing. We want the truth. We want the sun to shine. We want it to burn off the fog. But there's a benefit to this fog that I think that is being overlooked right now, potentially, and that is as a type of camouflage. So let's look at the chart, because there's a very specific aspect today that really speaks to this camouflage, and how, for as confusing as it is for an individual that is attempting to understand themselves, it also provides, for as confusing as it is, it's not just us that's confused, it's everybody that's confused. And if we learn to utilize this fog as a form of camouflage, we can also our other senses can be heightened. We can practice being able to use other senses, because our sense of sight in a fog, and a thick fog, is compromised. We can't really see what's going on, even if there is daylight around. It really forces us to learn to navigate through other means. And this is not exactly a bad thing. And I think that we may have been trying to bypass this as much as possible because we want the light of truth. And it is coming. There's no doubt about that, especially with the sun in Aries. We have Venus in Aries, and Mercury is going to move into Aries in the not too distant future. And with the moon in Leo, we're really feeling it. We want to express ourselves through that. And it's very personal. But the moon's going to come into Virgo, and we're really going to have to get down into the nitty gritty of how we feel and how we utilize those emotional state in a very material way. Remember, Virgo is the opposite of Pisces. That means the moon in the next couple of days is going to be in opposition to Mercury and really challenge where our minds are, and getting us to really hone in on that skill. So let's look at the chart so we can see what's going on today. I hope everybody's doing well. It's kind of one of those, it's not a lull by any stretch. There's no such thing as that anymore. But it does feel like a chance today to really take advantage of the fog as a camouflage. And there's a very specific transit that really connects to this. So let's look at it. As you can see, there's a lot of red on this chart. And red are usually those really troubling aspects, the squares, the oppositions, that kind of stuff. The place where we really learn something, right? The trines and the sextiles, they're very beautiful and harmonious, but you really learn from your challenges, and those come out with these tense aspects. So as you can see here, the moon in Leo is in an opposition to Jupiter. At the same time, it's in a quincunx to Neptune. So Jupiter and Neptune are doing this semi-sextile dance right now, too. They're in the same basic degree, very close. Actually, they're very close. Jupiter's just past this exact semi-sextile, right? Semi-sextile, 30-degree angle. So it's very subtle, and it is harmonious, and there is something to learn there, but it's not fully actualized yet. So you see that the moon is in an opposition to Jupiter and in a quincunx. What's a quincunx? 150-degree angle. This is an angle that is a wild card. There's nothing that, it doesn't fit together at all. So Leo and Pisces, there's fixed fire with Leo, and we have mutable water with Pisces. So these are just completely different not even trajectories. They are just not fitting together. And so it requires an adjustment. It forces an adjustment. And in some ways, it brings in the wild card or the divine intervention as a result. And so when we are talking about late Leo, especially, I mean, we're really getting to the point now where we want to fulfill our mission. We as individuals, Leo is the fifth house where we play and take social risks, and we allow that energy to move through us. And if we are committed to being a channel of spiritual energy, allowing that Kundalini to rise and then have a place for it to go, we can really, feel a strong sense of expression of who we are. And it's strong, right? We want to fulfill this mission. We want to fulfill our spirituality in a personal way. We're really feeling it literally with the moon in Leo and wanting to actualize it, especially with the sun and Venus. They're so close. They're going to come together tomorrow. Oh, this is so brilliant and beautiful, and is also going to be very challenging. We'll talk about that later. But you see this opposition with Jupiter in Aquarius that is really, this advocate for understanding and an advocate to provide and a representative that is providing some level of warmth and cushioning for those who are open to new experiences. There's kind of like this, bubble surrounding people right now who are willing to grow and change and have understood for a long time that that's part of the process, which does require kind of letting go a little bit. Whereas the moon, again, there's this really strong craving. And then the quincunx to Neptune, which is like bringing that peak experience back down to the level of reality. That is like bringing down the energy, right? And anchoring it into, like opening the crown, bringing it in and anchoring it down into the root of who we are. Whereas the Kundalini on a personal level is wanting to rise. And you can see how there will require an adjustment so that these things can run in a circuit and not in a way that they work against each other. That's where this adjustment is going to happen today, because Neptune in Pisces is incredibly powerful. This is the home territory of Neptune. And so we can't really, as much as we each individually want to let this energy rise up and out, we really, it's no match for Neptune in Pisces. And so this adjustment today is going to be really important. And this opposition at the same time to Jupiter is also, we have to find this middle point, right? This middle point. And you can see that there's still kind of, the moon has moved on. And so there's not this mystic rectangle anymore. But it's allowing this big picture bubble in this representation and this expansion into the truth of who we are that Jupiter really represents, can give us, provide, like I said, it's not really a bubble. It's like providing, like a rug on a floor. You know what I mean? You don't have to be on the bare floor. You can be on this comfy rug as you are, still learning how to be a human being within a context of a collective, right? Whereas Leo, there's nothing about the collective with Leo. It's about each individual expression, right? And this is where narcissism comes in if it is not put into check and is not channeled properly into a spiritual and service-oriented direction, which is what we will deal with when the moon comes into Virgo. So we see that today. And also, here's Mercury in Pisces, as we talked about, in a T-square with the nodes, with Mars pretty much just right within a degree of an exact conjunction with the moon's north node. So the T-square is where this point here that's squaring the two opposing elements provides the focal point to release the tension. And where is this? It's in Pisces, and it's in 13 to 14 degrees Pisces, you see right here. And what is that? That is the use of our intellect and mental subtlety to be a form of camouflage, because in Pisces, everything is connected to everything else. And that also goes for the elements that we want to protect ourselves from. So there's an element of shielding that is going on from the almost direct connection to the realm of knowledge and understanding, right? Gemini and Sagittarius with the nodes. And with Mars right here, so close to the North Node, I mean, it is really very strong and active and wanting to pursue this virtuosity in order to really master this concept of telepathy. And I'm not saying this literally, although I think it will, in some cases, need to be literal. We need to learn to bridge the gap of knowledge by being able to move seamlessly from thesis to antithesis without any attachment or judgment, right? Gemini is about discovery and exploration. And that is where we are headed. It is pulling us towards this direction in order for all of our souls to evolve. And so Mars is going to be like, okay, let's go for it. Like, I am leading the charge towards this. I am riding this dragon. And in some ways, I got this view of St. George and the dragon. But it's not even killing the dragon. It's just like, I'm going to wrangle this dragon. I'm going to ride this dragon. I'm going to direct this dragon, and I'm going to completely harness all of this energy. But if we are not, the thing is, there's a sense of, how do I put this? The Mars in Gemini, we're going to see this. Mars in Gemini in the tarot, Mars in the second decan of Gemini, which is where it is right now, is ruled by the Nine of Swords, which is not an easy card to deal with, because whereas all the other suits, when they get to the nine in that culmination, it's kind of a settled and happy and really there's a lot of strength there. With the swords, it's still very sharp and cutting and painful realizations. And the cruelty is because Mars is just like relentless, and it's just like, I'm gonna keep actualizing and keep moving forward. I'm going to force the issue. And so it will force the issue of being able to move back seamlessly into, in these realm of ideas. But in the meantime, Mercury in Pisces, I mean, we are open to so many influences right now because we're just so like drawn towards this realm of ideas and knowing and being able to know all of it, and the technique for being able to know all of it is this concept of telepathy. And where the south node of the moon is Sagittarius, where we're headed from, we've been here, this collective value system that is very much based on a much deeper set of wisdom and occult knowledge. And we've been there, and it's providing the momentum moving forward, but that is not the direction. We are forming new ideas, forming new cultural values in this process. And Mars is really, really, really lighting a fire under our ass, honestly, to get to that place. And so the fog is really frustrating because there is still a lot of confusion, and there is still a lot of like, well, what am I doing? Well, we can use this time before the sun really burns off this fog to camouflage ourselves from these influences that we don't want to allow in as we engage with this whole astral and spiritual realm of potential within our minds. So again, the imagination, what can we imagine? What we can, it's limitless, right? Just like Pisces is really limitless. It's just the field of consciousness that we have access to. But there's nothing that's going to stop the truth from coming out. And it's important that we utilize in this moment the camouflage that this fog really does provide, and the training that it provides us in this really confused and malleable state that Pisces represents, so that we can learn to heighten those other senses. That's where our discernment comes from, our intuition, our psychic channel becomes much more sensitive, and we're not relying so much on the flow of certain types of information and knowledge to come to conclusions or to know truth. It's really an asset as much as it is confusing. And so I've been really, encouraging and guiding people to just go with it and surrender to the flow, because you can't stop the time wave. It is still happening. And so we're riding it, and we can be conscious of that and align with it rather than resisting it. Now, something else that's really important today is that Saturn in Aquarius is going to square Black Moon Lilith. She's now retrograde. She's still in Taurus. She kind of moves back and forth, in whatever area she's in, she'll go direct, and then it'll be retrograde. And so she's spending a lot of time in this Aries Taurus, which also means she's going to meet Uranus again, in just a couple of days again. So who is Lilith? Lilith represents that survival part of us, the deep feminine that is acting out of survival, acting out of something much deeper than even our feelings and intuition, something that is deeper than we can even put a name to. And oftentimes when we are unconscious of this, we are acting from this place that is triggered by our trauma, and we make decisions and we do things that we don't even think, that are just meant for survival, not realizing that we may be aggravating our situation because we're not conscious of it. We are just acting it out of survival and deep survival. And that's not to say that's inappropriate. We have to be honest with ourselves about this. Anyway, so Saturn is going to square Lilith today, and she is in Taurus in retrograde. And we have an opportunity to really go back and reconsider very deeply how and why we want to cultivate our own consciousness in Taurus. It's really about letting the natural cycle unfold, and we have an opportunity to cultivate that and to be part of the process. Oh no. Part of the process. But at the same time, with Saturn in this square, that's just like, it's way more about the boundary of time and timelessness, right? Aquarius is outside of time. It's outside of time. And so, which is very interesting to have Saturn, the Lord of time, the representation of time as a third dimensional and even fourth dimensional concept, right? Astrology is a fourth dimensional tool because it provides a way to move through time by casting charts in the future, in the past, looking at and feeling into the resonance of those moments without actually moving through time in 3 dimensions, right? And the fabric of space-time is a 3-dimensional thing. But fourth dimension is the tunnel through time. So that's a different conversation. But what I will say is that Saturn has been pretty relentless in terms of creating a boundary around the inspiration comes from the silence, right? The inspiration comes from letting go of all of the other distractions in order to be inspired at a new phase. And we want to be part of, here's the thing, with Lilith, we want to be directly involved when it comes to Taurus. It's about our survival. And so in this retrograde and in this square, wow, we have this space that it provides. We have a real opportunity to to consider what it is that we are cultivating and why, and really look deeply at ourselves if we're just filling the space with unnecessary noise, or if we just want to be in control of what develops rather than just cultivating it. And Saturn is just like, well, whatever you do, that's fine, but I'm just letting you know that it's only going to be in this moment of letting it all go that you're going to find this inspiration. You're not going to necessarily grow it yourself in your ego consciousness. Ooh. So this is also going to be playing into this today, because again, like I said, with Mercury in Pisces, the fog can be an asset to us. It can be camouflage while we really work out what it is, our own truth, and truth on a larger scale too. So that's something to consider. So interesting astrology. Like I said, the moon's going to move into Virgo this evening as well. And so then the next couple days leading up to the full moon, which is going to be really important, we're going to really be getting down into the nitty gritty of our emotional state, our feeling state, our internal landscape, and making sure that everything is where it actually needs to be as we prepare personally, as then we prepare for the full moon and the moon in Libra. So let's see here. We're going to... Oh no, I'm definitely still streaming, but I'm not recording anymore because that's a bummer. Because I am out of disk space, apparently. I'm not really sure where everything is going since I moved everything over to my cloud. Oh, that's such a bummer. Okay, well, it's okay. It is what it is. So let's look at the reading, okay? And we'll go from there. It's easy. See, it's easy to get distracted by things and get pulled off course, and maybe there is a reason for all of this today. So we're looking at the Nine of Swords as the cruelty, right? Mars and Gemini coming into the moment, and I think we've been really, we've been really hammering within ourselves, like trying to get to this. And the thing is, when it comes to the swords, that it's painful. The truth is painful. Right? The truth is painful. And with Mars engaged in the process like this, especially in Gemini in a conjunction to the moon's north node, it's painful and we have to keep going. It is exactly where we need to be going. And the cruelty is what we impose upon ourselves with Mars, because it's just so aggressive, right? And so penetrating, because that's what Mars represents. It's the warrior. And so the mind can't ignore the fact that nothing really leads anywhere at the end of the day, right? Like you can take your mind so far and eventually you have to let it go. So again, Mercury in Pisces, right? Letting it go, using that fog as a type of camouflage to shield ourselves as we come to understand ourselves and we're essentially waiting for the light of truth. You'll see here's the sun card, and it's facing away. It's facing towards where we're going. The Hierophant is reversed. The Hierophant is the teacher of inner values. It is the high priest. I think it's interesting that the high priestess comes before and the empress comes before the emperor or the high priest in the tarot. That tells you that there needs to be space before something can be actualized or something can grow. And that is something that the divine feminine really needs to, we need to embody that idea for anything to grow. And we don't want to, create the space. And Pluto, Pluto is doing Pluto's thing, which is, creating the space through destruction. So what we do feel, right, our energetic polarity today, there's a lot of earth here. We see that we are the architect. We are very aware of that, the architect of our own reality. Where we are rooted is a sense of exiting the game entirely, right? The chess game, the three of keys, like there is a political conflict that is untenable. We feel this deep down. We feel this, and it's about letting go of it. Because the sun is going to burn off the fog. That's pretty clear. And we will get a sense we will become illuminated internally. Some people may struggle against this with this Hierophant reversed, but oftentimes it's much more about, especially in this situation with the sun leading up to this point, it's about coming to accept and understand our own truth as a result of our own research, and instead of somebody dictating this dogma to us. So it will burn off, but in the meantime, we are kind of going through this like mental cycle, and Mars coming to the North Node like this is going to make it just so, it's just going to be so powerful, and it's really going to motivate us and drive us towards something. And it may actually drive us towards our own insanity if we're not careful. And certainly the cruelty that is represented by the Nine of Swords, because you are culminating in a mental capacity at this point. So let's look at everything. Let's see here. Nope. You'd think I would be able to figure this out by now. Nope. We'll do this. Okay. All right, the Nine of Swords, and maybe I can bring the reading, because I really feel like it's important to show the. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's not going to work this time. That's okay. All kinds of weird technical difficulties today. But let's look at this. So the Nine of Swords, cruelty. This is the energy coming into the moment, okay? Like I talked about already, is we're going fully into the depths of a subject, right? And with a lot of action behind it with Mars, right? We are full speed ahead, moving forward, actualizing this information, and having to face up to the facts. This is why cruelty is associated with this card. I mean, all of the swords are here. They're all lined up, and all the blood dripping from it, because there's nothing that can stop what's coming, and there's nothing that hides the light of truth. And it's very penetrating with the swords and Mars involved. And so it does seem cruel, because there's no way of getting around it. There's no way of ignoring the fact of what this is, okay? And to the point where it seems like we're being attacked in some way, and we have to face up to the facts. So this is the energy coming into the moment here. And then we have the sun. Here comes the sun. Let's see if I can get it to come up here. There we go. So the sun is a great card. I mean, it is the full culmination of who we are. It is the Leo card, it is the 5th house. And you can see there's these 2 cherubs. All of the zodiac is situated around the sun. This is the light, right? The joy of life and creativity, the part of the center of everything for us. It's the power that's generously given without reducing itself. That's the other thing about Leo energy, when you are not, when it's not coming from a narcissistic or really egocentric and self-absorbed, inverted version of Leo, is that it gives and gives and gives, because it's not coming from you as the individual. It's coming through you as a divine channel. Your expression, your passion, whatever that, your creativity, whatever that is for you, is the energy that moves through you, and you are able to channel that through you by executing this passion, by engaging with joy and creativity. And so it gives and gives and gives, and there's a lot of vitality, and there's optimism, and it's a sign that we've overcome the darkness. So at the heart of the moment here, we have this sun, and like I said, you can look here again, it's pointed towards the outcome. And so we may not necessarily feel it in its full glory right this moment at the heart, but it's something that we know is coming, and it is going to influence this illumination within all of us in a very real and material way. So the One of Keys, see, now I moved everything around. The One of Keys, the architect. Okay, so this is at the top of our awareness. We know that we are in charge of our own reality, right? We understand that we are the architect of everything that we build around us, okay? So it's time to step into a position of power. I think we are very aware of this. We're feeling it. We want to do it. It is where our attention is going. We have to recognize our talents and our strengths as well as our authority to take charge, okay? This is showing us that for as much as we realize we are the architect of our own reality, we have to step into a position of authority to be the architect, right? We're not one of the workers, although that they are important too, and everybody has their role to play. But from an archetypal perspective, if we want to build something, we have to at least start from a position of director. And the architect is the one who has made the plans, drawn them up, knows how it is going to unfold, and directs the process. We see this, and our awareness is here that we each are the architect of our own reality. Now, at the root, energetically, within our subconscious realm here, right, where we are each rooted in our personal power. Now, the chess game, the Three of Keys, it is reversed. Let's look at that real quick, just so that we have some reference here. It's reversed in this position. All right. Yes. So looking at it upright, we see that it's a chess game. We have a piece that's knocked over, and all of these pieces represent, I mean, if you've ever played chess, it's, a game of strategy in order to capture the king, right? It's a very dualistic. The chessboard in and of itself is the matrix in some ways, and it is the political expression of what's going on in a dualistic sense, that it's a game. It's all about playing a game. Now, when it's reversed like this, it's saying that the political conflict is becoming untenable, right? Whatever's going on here, that we are not even necessarily, we might be a piece on this chessboard. We may even be engaged and invested in the game itself. Now, this is saying we have to completely disconnect. Time to walk away and to disengage emotionally. And when we're talking about our subconscious and our energetic root, then it is time to really disengage on a very deep energetic level and walk away and make plans, right? The architect. We see that we're the architect, but we have to embody from a very deep place emotionally and subconsciously that it's time to make new plans. Put this behind, because this is somebody else's game. Put it behind you and bring it to an end so that we can create a strategy to move on. That's really what we need to root into, is create a strategy to move on, because this is becoming untenable. For as much as we have been engaged with this back and forth for the last year, it's time to move out of this. This is somebody else's game. And I'm not saying that we have to bury our heads in the sand. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that when we walk away and stop playing the game, then we have the opportunity to create something new. And it's all about creating the space for something new. We can't create something new until the space is created. And sometimes that means walking away from the conflict that is kind of taking up all of our bandwidth. Okay. Now, with all of that said, what we have to expect here is the Hierophant. Now, like I said, it's reversed. Let's look at this again, just real quick. Reversed here. Now, reversals mean a lot of different things. Resistance to the energy. Sometimes it means that it's more of an internalized process. Maybe it is not fully realized yet. So there's a lot of different ways you could read this, but the sun in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Pisces, right? Vision of eternity. This is the high priest. Look at this card. Masks, right? The priest is an incarnated representative of the masculine aspect, which is very interesting because it's Taurus. You know who was a Taurus and who's often related to Taurus is the Buddha. The Buddha was incarnate, right, on earth, was the representative of the of source, a representative of the connection to source in a material way, and showed us how to do that. That is what the high priest does, is a representative. So there are masks. You can see the whole bull, right, is wrapped around behind this figure, and you can see all the geometry. And you also see here this feminine figure with a torch and a light, and it has all, like I said, all of this sacred geometry in here. You have the trine of the three circles. You have the, is that Da Vinci's man in the middle here. And so this is a representation in a very material way of the of source and the inner values, the illumination. So when it's reversed like this, especially with all of this other stuff, with the sun and the cruelty of the mental realm and what we put ourselves through just using our minds to try to get somewhere, this is really showing us that there is a search for knowledge and illumination and a desire to study it so that we come to our own conclusions. There will be a deep fulfillment when we trust our own beliefs. And this is going to be much more of an internalized process. The sun will burn off the confusion eventually. And when we get to this full moon, we're going to have illuminated within each of us the aspects of the previous cycles that have been successful and what we can look up to for the next cycle to unfold. And this will come about as a result of our own inner illumination, our own search for knowledge that will be highlighted for us when we come out of our own self-imposed mental cruelty, which is, we're just going to have to kind of go through it with Mars until Mars passes the nodes, basically. And so research and further development and all of this stuff in the realm of the spirit, but it's very much in a material way. And so in some ways, this either within us, something in our lives becomes a representation in a material way of source, of the spiritual knowledge, of illumination. And it is coming, and it's going to be, some people are going to resist this, the fact that it's reversed. But it also feels to me to be an inner experience that we're each going to have, especially with the full moon being so close. So some guidance here to help with this process is important, as always. So when it comes to that architect, we really need to channel in some divine power with Archangel Michael. And as we see here, it's Michael is reversed when it comes to this guidance system. And so we are in a position where we need to tap into, if we want to be the architect of our own reality, we have to channel in divine power, and having it reversed like this. And again, number 9, right? This culmination point, having it reversed like this suggests that it's time to connect to our real power, because in order to be an architect, we have to step into our power and authority. And it's divine power. It's not coming from us and our ego mind. That is with Lilith, right? We want to cultivate our ego consciousness, and that's important. But is it out of survival? Is it really based in a real desire to be the architect of our own reality? That's something we have to really ask ourselves. And again, Saturn is just setting, this is a square angle, right? It is a 90-degree angle, different trajectories, and they collide with each other. And so we're going to have to take notice of that today. And this is about connecting to our real power, our channel of divine power. We have to let go of old perceptions of limitation and replace them with new thoughts and ideas, and take action on our own behalf. Because it is not fully realized right now, even though we do see, and our conscious attention is focused on how do we be the architect of our reality. Well, it's about channeling divine power. And again, Mercury and Pisces can really help us hone in on this and heighten other senses that normally aren't heightened because we're so used to the mind and sight. Okay. And the honeybee just keeps coming back, doesn't it? The honeybee. Let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority in this situation. So it's again, this is a very Piscean thing. The hive of the bee, it works in a seamless unity, where everything is connected to everything else. And so everybody's agenda is very much the same. And it is about compassion and forgiveness, right? Connecting to that Piscean energy. And Archangel Michael, for as powerful and as much of a warrior and the flaming sword that he has, again, it's divine. It is the flame, divine flame and courage, and the flaming heart that Michael represents. And so compassion and forgiveness is definitely part of this too. And we have to bring that in, because otherwise, when we start, developing plans and making plans for the reality we want to create, if that is not our top priority, then this is where we get into all kinds of problems and despotism, because we want to control what's happening. And so we have to allow compassion and forgiveness to be our top priority as we are considering what we want to build. Now, when it comes to that 3 of keys, the political game being untenable, this is, again, consolidating back into, the group of like-minded people that whom you trust and that speak your language, and where we can get support. Because the thing is, if you're so used to being on this chessboard, and most of us are, I would argue that all of us are, because that's all we've known for our lives, past lives, whatever. When you're exiting that, you definitely you can't just, you can, but it would be more helpful to get support from a trusted group of people who are on your same wavelength, right? So that we can exit it together and we are creating space for something new. If we are just, floating, out in isolation and trying to exit this, it can be really scary. So this is suggesting here to connect to people, connect to like-minded people, because again, if we want to exit this untenable political system, it's something to realize is that we have an opportunity to offer what we have, our purpose, our gifts, our talents. The master artisan has mastered their craft and now is sharing it with other people, teaching other people, and making a contribution to many people. So instead of continuing to play the game, perhaps we take our mastery, whatever that is. We each have a unique signature here of what we have to offer, right? That is the Leo archetype at its highest version. We're all masters of our own unique gifts, and then start sharing them among your like-minded group of people. And the more that we do that, and we share, and we workshop, and we self-source with each other, with what we have mastered, what we're here to do, that helps us exit that system so much more successfully. So, yeah, I'm bummed that it stopped recording. I'm going to have to deal with that issue because I want to get out on more than just YouTube, but here we are. So thank you for being here. That's the transmission for today. I know that it's confusing, but the fog will burn off soon, so you might as well take advantage of it now as a form of camouflage. And in fact, that seems to be really how we can, and not, there are multiple ways that can happen, and not everybody is going to use this camouflage as a way to, be of the highest order either. So you have to keep that in mind as well, that everybody sees these potentials and acts on them differently. So we're here to act on them as starseeds and lightworkers and truth tellers as a way to bring about the most successful conclusion to this new earth process. So if you're interested in a reading, energy work, this can all be done remotely. You can go to the website, catalystenergies.net. If you're curious about the work that I'm doing, you can go to the testimonial page and see what people are saying. It's just mind-blowing, the work that I do with people and that we do together. Facebook and Telegram, that's all accessible in the description box below if you want to keep in touch on social media where I post this kind of stuff and all kinds of other stuff. If you go to the website, you can sign up for the mailing list, which is a great way to keep in touch, especially if social media becomes compromised in any way. And subscribe to this channel, please. Like this video. That would be so helpful to inform the algorithm and get this message out to other people who would find it helpful. So I would appreciate that as much as anything else. So thank you guys for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I love you. I will see you tomorrow for the daily medicine transmission for Friday. And we have a full moon coming this weekend. So things are starting to really amp up right now, and maybe the fog isn't so bad right this second. Perhaps there is something that can be learned and gained by just hanging out there just for a little while longer, guys, okay? So take care of yourselves. Have a great day,